We're going to start this recipe with your favorite thing on the carnivore diet, garlic. Go ahead and call this recipe whatever you want. Carnivore, keto, whatever. I don't care anymore, as is indicated by this long-winded script entry. I removed garlic jackets by shaking them in a jar before, so I'm going to do the same here. Simply place 2 heads of garlic and begin to for about a minute and be amazed. Doesn't look like it did it this time. Maybe that's because I was only using a couple of cloves before. Whatever, get the jackets off and let's get to roasting. Grab a little piece of foil and place the garlic in the middle. Then add about a tablespoon of lard and a big pinch of salt. Wrap this tightly and place it into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the garlic is nicely browned. While that's in the oven, let's grab our second favorite thing on the carnivore diet, parsley. Roll this up and give it a nice chopping. Set it aside and get out your newly roasted garlic. You know it's nicely roasted when you could do this to it. Now start doing this with all of the garlic so that we have a nice paste. You can also give this a rough chop to help it along if you feel the need to. Next, we can add the parsley and top that with a nice stick of softened salted butter. You don't have to do this part with your hands, so I'll just let you figure out how you want to incorporate this. I just enjoy the feeling of butter in my dirty hands. Once it's nice and mushed together, place this onto a plate or wrap in plastic and set aside. Okay, now for our third favorite item on carnivore, ribeye, or really any steak you desire. Just make sure it's about an inch thick. Simply cut about 1 inch by 1 inch cubes. Feel free to use a ruler if you're really into your measurements. Now strategically press the cubes back together into a steak shape, and season generously with salt. The idea behind this is to have nicely browned bites of steak that are browned all over. And the best way to do this that I found is just to cook it like it's an intact steak. Place these steak-shaped cubes into a pan over medium-high heat and sear it for about 3 minutes. You'll want a crust that looks something like this. Flip all the steak pieces and continue to sear on the other side. Push all the pieces to the other side of the pan and add in about 3 tablespoons of the compound butter. Grab a spoon, tilt the pan, and simply baste your steak pieces continuously for about 2 minutes. After that time, you can turn the heat off and top with a little more of that butter. Stir this in and plate it up. Pour that melted butter on top and sprinkle on just a touch more salt. And look at that. We got a nicely browned steak bite that's perfectly medium rare. If you're trying to feed a lot of people this recipe, just do it in batches so you don't end up with this. I think the most natural place to start making a breakfast bake would be to make some bacon. While you're doing something natural, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Actually, I think eggs would be the hallmark to anything breakfasty. But we want to make the excellent choice of not cooking those too early. Anyways, place 1 pound of bacon onto some foil or parchment paper and into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 13 to 15 minutes. So when it comes to memory cards, files can corrupt. You know, corrupted like the long, elaborate shot I did to tell you to take a bowl and add in 4 ounces of ground pork rinds, 4 eggs, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder into a bowl and mix. Mine were spicy as fuck. We cooked the bacon already, right? Oh, yeah, we did. Once it's cooled, take your bacon pan and pour in all of that savory bacon grease into it. We're going to use it to fry up some eggs. You can use butter to fry up your eggs if you want to, but I think bacon grease is a much better option. To fry the basic egg, I suggest using some sort of nonstick pan or a very well-seasoned cast iron pan. Place it over medium heat with your grease and let that start to shimmer. Crack your egg into the pan, and I like to take my spatula and kind of poke holes into the thick egg whites. I don't know if this actually does anything, but I enjoy doing it. Take your spatula and scrape up that slippery little egg and give it a careful flip. I'm going for a really runny yolk in mine, so I'm only going to cook these for 2 to 3 minutes. Once they're all cooked up, let's grab another pan and plop in 1 pound of breakfast sausage. I have this pan over medium-high heat for the record. Start breaking it up with a spatula, and optionally add in 2 teaspoons of hot sauce. I only did this since I already have a spicy base, so don't feel obligated, but it is really tasty. I also went ahead and added a preemptive half teaspoon of black pepper. Once the sausage is broken up and cooked all the way through, remove half of it and set aside. Now, we want to make our sausage gravy by adding in a half pint of heavy cream and 2 ounces of cream cheese. Bring this to a boil and reduce the heat to medium. I went ahead and added an additional 2 teaspoons of hot sauce just because I'm feeling muy caliente. Stir this until thickened. I like to be able to see that creamy river part when my spatula goes through it. Taste it and hit it with a little more black pepper if you feel like it needs more. Okay, all the components are finally done. I greased down an 8x11 baking dish with unsalted butter. I probably should have went a touch heavier just because things did stick, but a little scraping of the spatula did help to get the food out. It's not like it was permanently stuck. Speaking of scraping, scrape out your pork rind mixture and spread evenly. Place this into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes just to give it a little par bake. While that's in, let's tend to our bacon. I was worried that if I left the bacon in full strips, it'd be hard to cut through, so I cut mine into quarter sections. It worked out like I wanted it to. Alright, so once the crust has been par-baked, use some uncorrupted footage to prove that you've put on about 3/4 of your sausage gravy. I follow this up by layering on my fried eggs, then the bacon. Since this obviously wasn't going to be good enough as it is, I decided to shred over about 3 ounces of smoked cheddar. And finally, I finished up with my reserved breakfast sausage. Place this back into your still hot oven for 15 to 20 minutes, or until the cheese is slightly browned. Here's some chive slicing ASMR for you. Alright, the timer's up. Pull this opulent thing out, and feel free to go ahead and dig in if you want your face to melt off, but I highly suggest you let this cool for about 10 minutes. You should be able to get about 9 normal servings or 5 large servings from this thing. Now, I know this isn't the fanciest thing I've ever made, but I'm probably more excited about this than I should be. Let's take a bite real quick. Here, you can see the look of surprise as to how good this was. Feel free to send me your surprise faces on Instagram if you make this. It's not very often that I come across things that I'm particularly interested in making, especially whenever it's something that I didn't come up with. But I've known about this recipe for quite a while. It is Maria Emmerich's chocolate pudding or chocolate mousse, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not doing the exact same chocolate recipe. I want to feel like it's Thanksgiving, and I want a dessert that feels like Thanksgiving. And one of the best ways to represent Thanksgiving dessert, I think, is pecan pie. While this won't be an exact representation of pecan pie, I think it's going to be pretty damn close. I think it'll be pretty good, just from using her recipe as a base, as well as adding my own tweaks to it to make it something nice and rich without all the sugar and using majority animal products to make it happen. So with that said, let's get started by making the crust, and it's going to start with some pecans. I'm going to use 12 total ounces of pecans, but these are halves, so I need to get them broken down a bit. Get them into a food processor, preferably. You could try to put these in a blender to chop them up if you would like, but from what I know about blenders, it might just turn it to pecan butter. And that's not what I'm looking for. And to add some sweetness, I'll be using some brown sugar allulose for everything in this recipe. But feel free to use any type of alternative sweetener that you like, or if you don't like any, don't use any. I think that you could probably still get a good result with making this a savory type dessert, not necessarily, so sweet, but I will be using this. And I'm gonna add in 1/4 cup straight into the blender, along with about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And just start pulsing. You do not want to blend this, because like I said, it will turn into pecan butter, and I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for chopped pecans with little pieces. So just... And once you're left with a consistency that's about like this, we can go ahead and put that to the side. Keep this out. You don't have to watch this yet, because we will also need to make the pudding portion of this. And to start with that, we need to add in 10 hard-boiled eggs. And if you don't know how to hard-boil an egg, I'm going to leave a link right here for my 4 egg hacks, which shows you how to cook eggs perfectly. Because I did see some comments on Maria's website talking about how it tasted sulfury and eggy. And I can tell you right now, the mistake that person made was they overcooked their eggs. After 10 eggs, I'm going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of my brown sugar allulose. And in place of the full-fat coconut milk, I'll be using heavy whipping cream, which I will need 3/4 of a cup. Some Spice It ground cinnamon. I'm going to go ahead and do 1.5 teaspoons of that. A little pinch of salt, about 1/8 teaspoon. I'm going to finish that off with about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We'll start pulsing it, and then we'll just get it smooth. And after about a minute, it's starting to look pretty moussey and puddingy. All right, I'm surprised. I just wasn't expecting it to be that good. The texture is actually quite nice, and I surprisingly don't taste egg. I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and we can move on with finish up the crust. So I'm gonna take 3 ounces of unsalted butter. That sounds like a lot of butter, but it's also a lot of crust I'm about to make. And to that, we can go ahead and add all of our pecan, sugar, salt mixture. We're just gonna get this nice and toasted. Just move it around, keep it moving until all the butter's melted. It's really all we're waiting for. All right. Turn my heat off. It's starting to get a little too toasty for all this, but the butter's not quite melted. Let it keep moving in the still warm pan. It should be looking kind of crumbly. Pick it up. Should kind of fall apart. And once it does look like that, we can go ahead and start assembling, which I'm going to be using a cake pan made out of foil. If you want to use a different casserole dish or just any type of dish, that's fine with me. This one is a 12 by 8. So if you want to do a similar size, that's what this is. To start, I'm going to get roughly half of my pecan mixture into the pan. I want to spread that out pretty evenly. So once I get my bottom layer nice and even, we're going to throw this into the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that is ready. And we can go ahead and get the pudding on top of this. Just get it all out. Doesn't have to be perfect. When you get it out, get it on there. And start smoothing it out to make an even layer. And once it is smoothed out, we can start sprinkling over the rest of our pecan crust on top of it. And there we go. This is what it's looking like. And I do want to get this back in the fridge. I'm going to let it sit in there covered for about an hour just because I want all these things to kind of come together. I want them to stiffen up even more. So I want to be able to scoop out a piece and make it look nice on my plate. So we'll be back in about 1 hour. And it's time to scoop out a piece. And I'm excited because I've tasted both of the components, but I haven't tasted them together. So let's just get a little bit out, see what we're working with. Oh yeah, that came out real good. And this is what it should be looking like. It's creamy. Should be a little bit crunchy from the nuts. You know, let's go ahead and just give it a taste and see how we did. It's got a good cinnamon flavor. It's not overly sweet. The butter and the pecan crust works really nicely with everything else. And the pudding or mousse or whatever you want to call it is nice and fluffy. And it just, the textural differences are really good. The flavor is really good. And I really do not think that anyone would bat an eye unless you just told them it's eggs. I think they would eat this and be like, this is a pretty good dessert. And it's actually really light considering how much like heavy cream is in it. But you know, this is kind of to bind all the eggs together. And it works. It works really well. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Try it out. Let me know what you think. And check out Maria's channel down below. Thank you for the inspiration. And I will see you in the next one. So for this one, we'll be making a cheeseburger casserole. Got my pan nice and hot, nice and ready. Get that out of there. You don't need that anymore. I'm going to take 1 pound of ground beef. Going to just break it up into our pan so that we can start getting a nice, really hard sear on it. Since this is going in a casserole, I'm not necessarily looking for it to brown. I'm looking for it to get flavor and color. I've got my pan set to medium-high heat, and I'm going to let it sit here for a while, just until it gets some nice color on it. But you do want that initial contact to really, really be hot, because that's what's going to give it that nice sear. Just let that do its thing for roughly 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and reduce my heat to medium, and just let it go. All right, it has been a few minutes. You'll probably notice that you have a lot of gray coming around the outside edge of your beef. But when you flip it over, you should have nice hard sear that looks something like that. Ow, my face. And once it does, you can go ahead and just kind of move it around a little bit. Preferably with something that's not going to rip the sear off. And this is not seasoned as well. I'm just going to go ahead and add roughly a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon to this. Just kind of get that mixed in. I'm not trying to cook this all the way through. I'm just trying to get that nice color. I am done with that. It will be cooked again, so we can go ahead and move on to making our custard. And for this, you simply need 2 eggs, about 1 cup of heavy cream, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of granulated garlic, half a teaspoon of onion powder. See, whenever I have casseroles, I do like it when it has a crust, so I wanted to have a crust on this one. Especially since it was a cheeseburger, I wanted something to imitate the bun. My thought process is, if you've ever had a strata that is like bread on the bottom, eggs and sausage, usually some cheese and a custard that fills in the bread, it makes it like its own crust. So what I'm going to do is make this custard and use pork rinds as a light layer of crust. This is just what I had left. This is probably like about 1 ounce, maybe less than 1 ounce of pork rinds. Gonna kind of crush them up lightly, put them in the bottom of the pan. Next up, we will layer it with some cheese. This is just sharp cheddar. You can use any cheese you want. This is going to be roughly 1 ounce of shredded sharp cheddar. Next up, I'm going to do an optional couple teaspoons of spicy brown mustard. Like I said, it's optional. You don't have to do this. I just want that flavor within my casserole. Now we can take our ground beef and just top it. Now let's take our custard and drizzle it all over the entire thing. Let's shred over a little more sharp cheddar, and then we'll just finish it off with some bacon crumbles. These are the pre-made bacon crumbles like you can get in the store. Don't feel like you have to use these. You can use whatever you want. And that's what it should look like before we go in the oven. And it's going to go into the oven at 325 degrees for roughly 25 to 30 minutes, or until the custard is set completely. You should be able to pick it up, jiggle it a little bit, and nothing should be sloshing around. So this is done. I will say my house smells amazing right now. I think the combo of the bacon plus all the spices and the custard helped to do that. I'm going to let this cool off for just maybe 5 minutes or so, just so I don't, burn my entire face off while eating this. But while we wait, here's a nice little stock video of a squirrel for you. All right, I really hope you enjoyed that. Let's go ahead and give this a taste and see how it is. I'm curious to see how these pork rinds worked out for this. That's the bite right there. This is really good. The crust actually set up. It's not too eggy. It's not too pork rindy. It kind of balanced out everything with all the seasoning inside of the custard. This is pretty good. This is the first cheeseburger casserole I've ever made. I didn't look up any other recipes to get ideas. I just kind of went with what I thought would be good. If you like this recipe, or if you like the stock squirrel footage, go ahead and give this video a like, and I might as well show you the cute squirrel again. Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. It's been a while since I've made a pizza, and I think it was about time to break that streak. I didn't just want to make a pizza to make another crust. I really wanted a new experience. So, to change it up, I went with a deep dish pizza. I know that I'll probably upset some people by my use of Alfredo sauce, but compromises, you know? Anyways, feel free to pick whatever toppings you want, but for this recipe, you'll need mild Italian sausages, thin sliced pepperonis, sliced low moisture mozzarella, some blurry heavy cream, and some eggs. And today's GoPro footage is brought to you by Springform Pan. To start this recipe, let's take 3 ounces of pork rinds and 4 eggs and give them a good forking in a mixing bowl. Please pick out any random shells you may or may not see. Once your batter is good and forked, let it rest to the side to hydrate. In the meantime, let's get our Alfredo sauce whipped up. Place a pan over medium-high heat and add in 1 cup of heavy cream. Once this reaches a light boil, turn off the heat and add in a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, as well as a 1/2 cup of Monterey Jack. Whisk this until fully incorporated. Season with salt and pepper to taste, and I added about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Next up, I need to brown my sausage. I think 2 should be plenty for the size of my Springform pan. Get the sausage out of the casing by any cringeworthy means possible. There's no way to do this without feeling pain. Place the meat into a pan set over medium heat and brown for a few minutes. I broke mine up and got it most of the way brown, but don't worry too much because it'll continue to cook in the oven. This next part is going to be up to you and how much you want your crust to look perfect. Honestly, it'll look pretty good no matter what, but the biggest goal here is to get your batter up the side of the pan and as high as possible. Butter up your pan to prevent sticking as well. I par baked mine for 5 minutes, but looking back at it, I think you could just avoid that part. This part is also up to you. Traditionally, deep dish pizzas start with sauce and end with cheese, but today I'm gonna kind of just layer everything. Have fun with this part. If you're upset, please leave all complaints in the comment section. Once you've got it the way you like it, wrap it in foil. Bring it over to an oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and cook for 30 minutes. Then remove the foil and cook in the same oven for 5 minutes to get the top cheese browned. Once removed, let it rest for at least 30 minutes. This will be a soupy mess otherwise. After its short rest, run a knife around the outside to remove anything stuck to the pan. Holy shit, look at how glorious this is. I honestly didn't want to cut into this, but all good things have to be destroyed. I think that's a quote. I am happy that I finally quit staring at it and just cut a slice because it turned out even better than I was expecting. This first exciting bite is for my Patreon community. Check out the link in the description if you're interested in supporting the channel. Now, I knew this was good because I usually finish things off screen, but this one needed to be devoured right then. You can feel the need to devour it too if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, can I get a baconator, just a sandwich with no... the double? What else can I get for you? Can I get no ketchup on that? Okay. That'll be it. Alright, thank you. You're welcome. 4 for 4. Get the 4 for 4, where you get 4 more scores with a door. Chicken nuggets or chili that feeds 6? $10. I mean, them nuggets are pretty good. Get the 4 for 4 with 4 doors and cores. Store the war for the 4 for 4. Alright. Thank you. Alright. Thanks, you too. Ooh, it smells like grease. Nice and greasy. That's what it smells like.
Hamburger.
Hamburger. Let's see how this thing looks. I mean, if you're in America, you've probably had at least one of these and know what it looks like, so. But, we gotta take a look again. Oh, ask for no ketchup, and they put extra ketchup. Can I get no ketchup on that? Or they'll only put ketchup. Okay, whatever, dude. Here it is. Looks mushed. Doesn't look bad, though. It looks like, it looks like a burger. It looks like it's worth $7. Supposed to have 3 strips of bacon per patty, but I see 2. There's a slice of garbage between each burger, and they're quarter-pound patties with an ass of ketchup for some reason. The hardest part is going to be this bun. It is very shiny, like it's it's coated in something, probably cheap oil if I had to take a guess. I'm gonna do something controversial. I don't. That was very bland. It tastes like they didn't season the meat at all. I don't know why. I know they usually do. I didn't taste the bacon. I kind of tasted the cheese. The bun's what's throwing it off. The bun's kind of gross. It's like super sweet and just not great. I think I can do a better job in general. Like, even if I wasn't making this a carnivore version, I could do a much better job than wherever the hell this is. But that's neither here nor there. I got to make a carnivore version. So let's get started with that. How about we do that? I'm sitting here eating the burger patty, and there's just something not good. I don't know if it's the bacon. Oh, it's the bacon. Ooh. What's up with this bacon? It's so weird. I'm just gonna not eat it. Yeah. Alright, anyways, let's make this thing. To start, we need to brown about 6 ounces of ground beef so that we end up with 4 ounces of cooked ground beef in the end. Drain the grease and place it into a food processor, along with 1 ounce of cream cheese, 6 eggs, a half teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Process this on low for about 1 minute. Here, you'll think you've made a mistake, and that's because you have. Haha! I got you to make a recipe that isn't very effective. If you want, while you're watching this first one not working, add 1 ounce of ground pork rinds by weight to your mixture. Here it is in the pan for reference. It definitely had more structure, but it still wasn't the way I wanted it. For the actual recipe, get a pan lined with a silicone baking mat or parchment paper. Place down a 3-inch ring mold that's either non-stick or has been well greased. Place about 1/3 cup of your batter into these. Put this into a 365-degree Fahrenheit oven for 20 minutes or until it is firm and brown. Wendy's burger patties for the normal Baconator are 4 ounces each. So take your 4-ounce meat wads and begin to shape them into squares. I would say take all of your meat and spread it out to a 1/2 inch thick and then cut it into squares, but Wendy's doesn't cut corners and neither do we. Look at how square this is. Wendy's also uses applewood smoked bacon, which is a weird choice because hickory smoked is obviously the superior wood used for bacon. Cook up 3 slices and cut them in half. Now to cook our burgers, we'll put the pan over medium-high heat and begin to press it down to get a better sear. Once they are cooked to your liking, add a slice of trash to each, along with 3 strips of bacon on each. Turn one burger so that the bacon is the opposite way of the other and place it on top. Set aside while we get this ridiculously nice looking bun out of the oven. Split this in half and be amazed at how good it looks. Baconators have ketchup and mayo on them, but feel free to skip that if you don't want it. I just happen to have a jar of avocado mayo in the fridge. The way this thing looks is absolutely mind-blowing, and it looked like a burger from a commercial, and I was very happy to see it like this. But how does it taste? It tastes even better than the actual Baconator in my opinion. I don't know if it's from the type of meat I used, or if the fact that it actually seasoned it and didn't put extra ketchup on it. But this was genuinely much better than the bite I had from the restaurant. I'm not biased, you're biased. Well, that's it. Do you have anything else you want to see me trash form into Carnivore? Leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, please leave me a like. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing. It's totally free and keeps me motivated to continue to make these videos. Stay trashy, my friends. For pork belly with the skin on, you'll need your sharpest knife. My sharpest knife just happens to be this cleaver. Here's the pork belly. This one is about 3 pounds and is a little uneven. You don't have to trim yours if you don't want to. I don't mind having scraps though. Here's a little piece with pretty much no meat on it. Split this in half if you have a big portion. Cut slices into the skin at an angle. Then turn 180 degrees and slice again. My cleaver is pretty heavy, so I got some deeper slices than I wanted. It's okay though, it'll cook up just fine. Apply a little oil, salt, and pepper. Rub this in and repeat on all sides. Let this chill out while we get our second version ready. For the second, simple, yet a little more delicious version, you'll need some liquid aminos. Feel free to use soy sauce if you want to. I just had this available to me. You'll need about 1/4 cup of it. Along with that, add 1/4 cup of distilled vinegar. I wanted just Szechuan peppercorns for this, but I had to settle on this blend. In fact, feel free to use just black pepper or any other pepper blend. You'll need about 1 teaspoon. Same as before, make a crosshatch into the skin. Place your pork belly into a Ziploc bag and add your marinade. Remove as much air as possible and let chill in the fridge for a couple of hours. The cooking process is very simple. I place this onto an oven rack with a pan underneath to catch the drippings. I let this cook for 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour, and then turn the broiler to high for 5 minutes to crisp up the skin. Feel free to put this directly on a pan if you don't want an elaborate setup. For the marinated pork belly, remove from the marinade and pat dry. follow the same steps as before. Here are the slabs of pork belly after cooling in the fridge for 1 hour. Cut off some thick slices for searing. To sear, place a pan over medium-high heat and press your pork belly into the pan for maximum coverage. You're pretty much just making bacon at this point. Some people like to cook their pork belly until it's falling apart, but I'd much rather enjoy it this way. It feels like I'm eating the fattiest pork chop in existence, and the sear just makes it that much better. I think no matter which one you choose, you'll be happy by having some super tasty pork belly and with very little effort.
Alright, so you've heard of chicken parm. I've actually done a video on chicken parm. But have you ever heard of hamburger parm? Ham cheeseburger? How about cheeseburger parm? Because that's actually going to be a lot closer. You know, it's such a simple idea, and I don't know why I haven't never seen this before. But we're going to take some of the elements of a chicken parm, put it on a burger. For the cheeseburger parm, let's go ahead and get some hamburger patties made out. They ain't got to be perfect by any means. It's going to be covered up by delicious sauce and delicious cheese, and everybody's just going to be a real delicious time. It's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. Just make some hamburger patties first. We're also going to keep the seasoning on these very simple. I'm just going to hit it with a pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. I'm going to flip it and do the same thing on the other side. We got these seasoned up. I'm just going to let these sit for a second while I go ahead and make my sauce, because I just want things ready to go, and I want to be able to assemble, and I want to make the food, and I want to make it taste good real fast. So I've got my pan set over medium heat. I'm going to throw in about 2 tablespoons of butter, if I had to say, and throw in my garlic powder, as well as my Italian seasoning, black pepper, and salt. Just kind of get those mixed around. I'm only really doing this because I don't know. I feel like toasting all this stuff might help a little bit. But once your butter's melted, you go ahead and add about 1 cup of cream and just get all that mixed in. All we're doing here is letting this get hot and reduce and thicken, and it's already smelling pretty good. Now that it's come to a boil, I'm going to reduce my heat down just about low, medium low, something like that. And I wanted to keep just kind of doing this right here until it can coat the back of a spoon like this. You can wipe your finger across it, and it stays. Once I can do that, turn the heat off. We'll take about 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. You can use the shaky stuff if you want and get that mixed in. Let's go ahead and give it a taste for seasoning. Should be there. It should be a strong flavor too, because that's what I was going for. Because when I think tomato sauces for Italian food, I think a really strong flavor. But for now, for my purposes, I'm going to keep it just like this, and I'm going to move on to getting my burger patties cooked. But you know, I'm sure you know how to cook a burger patty. But I will give you a quick tip. We are going to be putting this into the oven or the broiler at some point. So I will say I would cook it a little under what you would like your burger cooked to. I'm going to cook mine to about medium rare because I don't really like a medium rare burger, but I do like a medium burger. I've got my pan set to medium high heat. I'm going to go ahead and get these cooked off, and I'm not going to job out too much with this part. We're going to turn our heat off. My burgers are definitely medium rare by now. And if not, they're going to be very quickly. So we currently have some plain hamburger patties, and we're going to start the parmification up by taking some of that sauce we made, put it right on top, on each one. And then I will top that with a couple slices of sliced mozzarella. And I'm going to throw just a little bit of extra parm on top, just to seal in our cheeseburger parm. And you should be left with something that looks kind of like this so far. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw this into the oven on broil. I'm going to say low broil. My oven only has 1 broil setting, and I don't know how long it's going to take. Just keep an eye on it. But for reference, mine took about 3 minutes or so. Let me plate this up real quick so we can give it a taste. And this is what we're left with. This actually looks amazing. I wish I had some parsley just to make the color a little bit nicer, but it looks pretty damn good to me. All right, are you ready for a taste test? Because I know I am. Yeah, can you smell that? This is amazing. This would actually be great as a burger on like on a truck or a restaurant, if I'm being honest. But this is my lunch, and I'm gonna go eat. Hey everyone, welcome to Down South Carnivore Episode 1. I wanted to use this series as an attempt to test my creativity and knowledge of food and combine that with the fact that I'm from the South and have eaten basically all the Southern food you can think of. The South includes a lot of vegetables and starches in their food, so there will be a lot of things that I won't be willing to do, but there may be a few things I'll throw in to surprise you. The goal is to keep it as carnivore or as carnivore-ish as possible. If you see me falling down the trail of cauliflower, mashed potatoes, or similar, please berate me in the comments. Today, I wanted to start with one of my favorite breakfast dishes in the South, which is biscuits and gravy. This typically consists of a buttermilk biscuit and topped with a white pepper gravy, which may or may not have breakfast sausage in it. So you probably want to know how I did this, so let's just jump into that and see what the recipe is. Alright, for the biscuit, I went with the same recipe I used for my English muffin, which was a 1-to-1 of pork rinds and eggs, and a little baking powder. Here I have 3 ounces of ground pork rinds, 3 eggs, and a half teaspoon of baking powder. Grab a fork or rubber spatula and mix all of this together. You'll be done mixing once all the pork rinds are hydrated and kind of look like this. Growing up in a southern home, you'd 9 times out of 10 see anyone cooking using a cast iron pan. You'd also probably see a jar of bacon grease somewhere nearby that pan. So since I'm trying to hit all the nostalgic points for myself, I'll be using this cast iron pan. And unfortunately, I'm out of bacon grease, so I'll be using a little bit of beef tallow. Now, you can place a ring mold if you want to, but in the middle of doing this, I just wanted to try to see what a free-form biscuit may look like and how it would work out, and to be honest, I like that look a lot better. It seemed to look a lot more like a biscuit than compared to the ring mold one. You want to let these bad boys cook for 5 to 6 minutes in total, and you want to flip them occasionally to keep them from burning. In this recipe, you should be able to get about 3 biscuits in total. This next part is optional, but I enjoy it for the flavor and plating. Take a few leaves of fresh sage and just put it into your hot oil and begin to fry it. The leaves will crisp up and it'll flavor your fat. Personally, in my gravy, I like breakfast sausage. Be on the lookout for the stuff that says country sausage because, in my experience, this has the least amount of additives and garbage in it. Place this into a pan over medium heat and begin to break it up. We want pretty fine crumbles here, so take your time and keep chopping it. Once it's finished, set aside and grab another cast iron pan, maybe something a little smaller in an attempt to reduce our cream. Put 1 pint of heavy whipping cream over medium heat and bring to a simmer. Whisk the... Alright, let's, how about a half pint of heavy whipping cream instead? Next, we want to whisk in 2 ounces of cream cheese to stabilize our gravy. Crack in a half teaspoon of black pepper or until it tastes right. If you've never had this before, a half teaspoon is probably a safe place to start, but I personally probably added about a full teaspoon to get it to the flavor that I wanted it. Put in about half your sausage and continue to reduce your mixture until your desired consistency has been reached. Salt this to taste. I didn't add any salt until the very end because reducing things increases the salinity of them from the evaporation of water. Alright, since I had some extra time spent cleaning up, my biscuits deflated a bit, but they still look pretty good. Split them in half and spoon over your gravy, making sure that you get sausage on every one. Alright, well, this one really took me back to my childhood. I haven't had biscuits and gravy in a while, well, maybe even about 3 or 4 years I haven't had it, but this was really just an epic treat and super nostalgic for me. The textures were on point, the flavor was 100% nostalgic. Well, that's the recipe. What are some southern foods that you love and would love to see recreated? Leave a comment below to let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And if you want to see more, please consider subscribing. And until next time, stay beefy, my friends. So I don't really watch a whole lot of normal TV because I'm watching YouTube for the most part. Normal TV, I mean like channels that include commercials that you can't really avoid. But recently I watched some normal TV and I kept getting this commercial over and over again.
The critics are raving. Little Caesar's Crazy Puffs are the summer blockbuster.
And after seeing it like 20 times, I had the craving for it. And since I can't have that in particular, I'm just going to make it myself, and it will be carnivore. So I've got 5 ingredients here to make this. It's going to be super fast, and it should be quite simple. The first thing we need to do is get a mixing bowl and add in 1.5 ounces of ground pork rinds. Follow that up with 2 eggs. And then just kind of fork it around. It'll look kind of like this, a little bit runnier than I want it to, but what I'm going to do is let it sit for roughly 5 minutes till it kind of hydrates through the pork rind. So 5 minutes, and it looks like this now. It's not such a soupy runny mess, which is what I was looking for. Next up, let's grab a muffin tin, and what we're going to do is take this batter and start adding a little bit in there, and then run your hand under some cold water just to get it a little moistened so the batter doesn't stick to it. And all we're going to do is push this down and work its way up the sides a little bit. So I still want it to be muffin-like, and I want the crust to almost be like a deep dish pizza. Just make sure there aren't any holes in the bottom of it. So let's go ahead, get the rest of our muffin holes filled. Next up, what we're gonna do is take pepperoni and mozzarella and layer them kind of like a lasagna, because that's what it looked like they did from the pictures I saw in the commercial and online. We'll lay a few pepperonis down, and then I will top each one with a little low moisture, fresh shredded mozzarella. And then we will repeat that like 1 to 2 more times. I think that's enough for me. I did 2 layers total. I'm gonna finish this up with a little Italian seasoning just to get that pizza-y kind of flavor. You can use whatever you want for this. If you just want to use dried oregano, that'd work fine. We'll kind of brush off this little bit of excess cheese so it's not crazy stuck to everything. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna throw this in there for 17 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown on top. So these are obviously insanely hot. I'm gonna let them cool down 5 minutes. They are ready to be tasted. As you can see, it did a really good job coming out of that pan. They look awesome. And I do want to cut one in half to kind of get a cross section, see what they look like. And there it is right there. Very cheesy and pepperoni looking. Got that seasoning on top. Let's give them a taste. Now, I know a lot of people don't like pork rinds or the flavor of pork rinds that you get with stuff like this. But what's good about this is that the pepperoni is so strong in flavor. And if you top it with a little bit of Italian seasoning, it almost just completely gets rid of that pork rind flavor. So if that's going to stop you from eating these, I would honestly just suggest trying this out to see what you think. Honestly, this is a great way to have pizza. You know, if you don't want to eat pizza and feel like a big old dumpster fire, why don't you just make these instead? It's got a good chew to it. It's got a good flavor, obviously. And that's what we're looking for.